there, welcome to the channel. I'm Mrs. R. Let's do some math. Today we're talking about graphing inequalities. Now these are just simple inequalities with one variable compared to one number. Our first example, we're going to graph the inequality x is less than 1. So on our number line, the first thing we're going to do is find where 1 is. There's always that key number that you're using, and I see it's right here. Now, on that number, we have to consider whether we're including that number or not. And to do that, we just look at whether or not there's an equals bar in our inequality. Now, this does not say equals. There would be a little line underneath the angle there, and there's not. So this is strictly less than, which means we're not going to include 1. So to show that we're using 1 but not including it, we put an open circle over the 1 on the number line. Then our inequality says we want all of the x's that are less than 1. And on a number line, less than goes to the left. So we will darken or shade or whatever's appropriate for the work that you're doing to the left, because that's all the things that are less than 1. Now, one of the things I always like to do is check my work on these. I just check one of the values that I just shaded, like -5. And I just double check, is -5 less than 1? And yes, it is. Negatives are always less than a positive. So -5 is less than 1. So I have likely shaded in the correct direction. Our next example, we have x is greater than or equal to -6. So again, our first move is to find that reference number on the number line. So there's -6. Now this one does have the equals bar. It says greater than or equal to. So we will do a solid circle, and that will signify that -6 itself does count for what we're looking at. And then we want all the x's greater than that, and greater than on a number line goes to the right. So we will shade or highlight or whatever it is off to the right. And again, we can check a value just to make sure that we shaded on the correct side. I always like to check 0 if it's in that shaded area. Is 0 greater than or equal to -6? And yes, negatives are less than 0, so 0 is greater than the negatives. Now there is one thing before we stop this video, just that I want you to know. Either of these could have been written backwards, and they would mean the same thing. So like the first one, they could have given that to you as 1 is greater than x. So when you think about 1 is greater than x, that means the x is less than. Sometimes it helps to kind of rephrase it in your head. This also could have said 6 is less than, -6 is less than or equal to x. And it would have meant the same thing. We would have shaded the same region. So if it helps you to flip-flop and put your variable first, and if that helps you determine where you're going, totally fine. Just make sure you flip everything, including that inequality sign. So if the small side of the inequality is pointing to the number, when you rewrite it, the small side should be pointing to the number as well. So make sure if you're going to flip your inequality, flip the whole thing, just to make sure you don't accidentally screw things up. And double check your answer using one of the values that you shaded. Always check it in the original. If you've rewritten it, just in case you rewrote it wrong, you're checking against the original, and that'll tell you whether you've solved it correctly. So that's really it for graphing inequalities. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give us a like on the page. That'll help our videos reach more people. If you still have questions, or if you would like to see another concept made into a video for the channel, please leave a comment and we'll take care of that as quickly as we can. But this is Mrs. R, and this has been me doing math. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next time.